So what I'm doing here is showing you all how I thread the weft. So I am applying a needle and thread through the weft of the hair that I'm using to sew onto the mannequin head. And now I'm aligning the hair to where I want it to start. Now I do apologize for my hands being in the way during this clip. It was very hard for me to get a good angle, but what I'm doing is I'm taking the needle, and I'm going in from the top down. I'm taking the needle through the net and under the weft, and then I'm tying it. I do not sew through the weft. Only when I am starting or ending the weft is when I sew it. Starting or ending the track is when I start it through the weft. So what I did here was I got a tack to tack the hair where I wanted to end, and this made it easier for me to sew through. Now this video is not for those who know how to do a sewing, because I'm taking my time to show you all how I sew. So that's why this video is pretty long, and if you get bored you can always fast forward. So what I do is I take the thread with my left hand and I pull it all the way to the left, and then I begin to sew. So when I'm sewing, as you can see here, I put the needle through the thread under the weft, and then when I tie it, the tie goes over that piece of thread that I was pulling to the left hand side, and that secures a knot for me. This is how I prefer to do it. This is what works for me. If you're doing this on your own and that doesn't work, or it's hard for you to get, then you can try another tactic, but this makes a knot after every stitch that I do. So I pull a thread to the left, I take the needle through the net under the weft, and it goes under the thread, and then when I pull it tight, it ties a knot, so that way it won't get loosened. And I just continue that process all the way through. And it's not hard. It may look a little difficult. I am struggling with the mannequin head on the mannequin head holder, because as I mentioned in the first video, I'm used to, or earlier, the first video, I'm used to holding the mannequin head in between my legs. So this was a little difficult for me, but you all get the picture. And I just keep going all the way across. And it's not that hard, even for first timers. When I first started, I didn't realize how easy this process was. So it's easy to get. It may take a couple tries. I've made so many U-part wigs that I'm not a pro, but I still have a hard time getting it to look the way I want certain times, and I'll have to undo it. But practice makes perfect, right? So I removed the tack because I was at the end of where I needed to go. Now this black strip that you see, it's part of the wig cap. I do not sew on that, so I sew over it, and that's because when I put it on my head, if I needed to stretch, that piece is like an elastic band, and I wouldn't want to sew onto it and then won't be able to stretch the wig cap when I put it on. So I sew before and after, but not on that elastic band piece. So I'm coming to the end of the weft. As you can see, the chalk where I drew, it's right over my ear. So I'm taking the thread, and you see me wrap the thread around the needle. That's what I do when if you don't see me pull the thread all the way to the left, it has the same effect. Excuse my arm. So, and now I'm gonna be folding the hair back over to the right. So what I do is I fold the hair, I hold where the fold is, and then I take my needle, and the same process is going under the net and through the hair, or under the weft. And then I wrap the thread around the needle 2 or 3 times to secure it, and then pull it through. So that causes a knot, and I do that when I flip over so that the fold over piece is as flat as I could possibly get it to the wig cap. I try to go over that area a second time just to make sure it is down flat, and then I continue sewing to the other side. So I'm not cutting the wefts in this process. I usually don't, and I'll just be going straight to the other side. So I straighten out the hair to where I want it to end, and I grab another tack to secure it. So that is my guideline of how I want the hair to go, and I continue sewing. Now you see here that I'm measuring where I want the hair to go. I want the wefts to be at least 1 thumb width apart from the other track. So that's why I'm holding my thumb there, so that the track doesn't drop, and that it is at least a thumb's width away from the previous track that I laid down. And I proceed to go once again. I'm sewing in a downward motion where I'm taking the needle through the net or the weaving cap. It's going under the weft of the hair. I'm taking the string here and I'm wrapping it around once or twice, and then I'm pulling it through. And that's how I usually wrap it when I'm going back to the right. And then here you see how big the gap is between the tracks. So where my finger is, I'm also holding the thread, so that when I go under the weft, I'm going under the thread as well. And then I pull it through, and that forms a knot. So try what works best for you. There are many different ways of sewing the hair, and whatever you feel most comfortable with is what you can work with. And then you'll see me tugging on the thread just to make sure that the knot is tight. And I just keep continuing the process. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, this is sort of in detail. I wanted to move slow. I didn't want to speed up this section because I wanted you all to see how it was going. And you see here is I'm showing how I will flip the hair back over towards the left to continue sewing. So here I've reached the end of the thread that I've used. You see I have like no more thread left, and I want to show you how I end that thread to begin using a different needle. So what I do is I make sure it's tight. I cut the thread, split the thread in half, and I make 2 to 3 knots just to make sure that it's secure. So here's 1 knot, here's the second knot, pull it tight, and then I have enough thread to form a 3rd knot. So that's what I do, and that's so, and then I cut the excess off, and that's so that the weave doesn't start falling off the net. And then I just pick up one of my other needles that I've already threaded and continue the process. So here again is the spaces that I have a thumb's width away from one another. That looks a little bit more than a thumb's width, but it's not too bad anyway. And that's because this hair gets really, really big. Nice, isn't it? Okay, so I am finished with 1 bag of the hair, and this is what it's looking like so far. Okay. See, I really can't do a 360 because I'm holding my camera, but I'll try. Okay, and let me see if I can show you the back. So this is it. I'm gonna start working on the second back. I mentioned the hair is really light. You can't really tell with my hair. I don't think you'll be able to tell, but my hair is really dark compared to this hair. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to do, but this is it. I'm liking how it's looking. 10 inches of hair. I haven't brushed it or anything, so it hasn't gotten too big. And as you can tell, I've been making the spaces at least a thumb's width apart. Hopefully that was good enough. And as I start working on the second bag, I'm gonna make them maybe about my pinky, or you know, just a little bit closer since it's getting up to the top. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is the almost finished product. This is what is left, and that's where I'm gonna cut because that's where my hair is gonna come out. So that's my U area. Yeah, I used the 2 packs, but I have maybe, what is this? I don't know, a 1/4 or so left. I don't know. But I do have some hair left over from the 2 packs. And the sewing wasn't a problem. I just kept going from side to side. On the sides, when I got to the end, back here, what I did was I would come to the end and then immediately fold the track over and then try to go back. But then as I was getting up to the top, I brought the hair to the end and then I brought it over this way. Let me see if I can show it. That's probably better. While I was sewing the hair, I would bring the hair to the end, right? And instead of immediately flipping it back, I would go up a little bit and then flip it over. So I hope you're able to understand that. And that way it created more, you didn't just immediately see that it was folded back. It was more hair going there. So I like how that looks better. And you can see it a little bit on here. So that way when I have my leave out and I pull it back, it's not really jagged. Okay, let me turn around and show you all the back. It's a lot of hair, but it's not too much. I know once I brush it out, it'll get bigger. I'm not planning on brushing it out yet. Yeah, and then when I'm ready to wear it is when I will cut it down in the middle. I feel like rocking this to work tomorrow. Like, hey y'all. Yeah, I like it. I didn't change the color. So I don't know. I don't even have any color here, so I'll probably have to get some. So that process is going to have to wait. But I will, you know, show you all what I've accomplished so far, and then I'll do another video showing you exactly what it looks like. Once I'm able to install it, I'll show you how, what my braid or my hair pattern, my braid or my twist pattern will look like on my hair. And yeah, that's it. So this is it. I'm really feeling this hair. Go me, go me, go me. If it was my hair, it would be even better. But yeah, so this is it. Just let me know what you all think. Please feel free to leave your questions below. I really couldn't do an in-detailed video because the lighting in my room was horrible. I couldn't position the camera right so I could show the whole process, and it was just easier for me sitting on my bed just to watching TV just to sew the hair on. Okay, it took me about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to do. So this is it. The Fray Natural private stock hair that I ordered in 10 inches. The color says natural and it looks more like a 2. It's really light. So yeah, thanks for watching.